Hello, World Civ classes, World 106 classes. So, I'm going to start off this announcement as I'm doing with my other class. At this point, I'm still getting papers that do not have dates covering time periods. They don't have works cited and or using outside information into the paper. And that's going to get you a 0 every time. Now, I've been letting folks, some of you, make up and fix these problems. Some of you are doing great with your papers, and you did all but one thing, like you just forgot the works cited or something like that. And it's a very easy fix. Using outside sources, no, you got to start all over. So I have posted several. I've written several letters and I've posted examples on announcements. So I've been trying my best to communicate on this and help you guys out so that it's making your life easier. Now, look, I just want to make this very clear why this is important. We all know that there's just lots of garbage on the internet. If you're pulling sources randomly on the internet, I don't know if those are really scholarly sources. And you could be writing something, and then I have to go research this and go contact you and explain why this is all wrong. No, this is not what we're doing. Okay, I've mentioned that these are not research papers. So let me just really clarify what the point of the Sunday papers are. It's for you to articulate clearly and concisely some part of a subject matter that we covered in the week's module, and you're demonstrating you're reiterating what you learned directly from the module, not somewhere else. Okay, so I've mentioned if you want to quote a poem, something from the Bible, the Quran, or something else, and it just randomly fits into the whole context. In other words, if 99% of the information is coming from this class and you just added some other outside source like that, just because you think that kind of like just adds to the topic, that would be acceptable. But whether your discussions, your notes, and your paper are to demonstrate that you actually are watching the videos and learning directly from what we've covered in class. And that's what I'm looking for, okay? Period. And I've already recommended in another announcement about how it's better to look at what the Sunday paper question is, then take notes on it, and help you incorporate that into your paper. Now, I'm wondering, by the way, another problem I'm having just in my 106 classes is that some of you are still sending me scanned pictures of notes written by hand, and I've mentioned you need to send me typed only, and I was wondering why I had so many that were so many of you sending me handwritten notes. I think it was a little misunderstanding about one of my announcements where I was basically saying what I recommended is that when you look on the Sunday paper question, to think about what was there and to write down your notes that you can use for your Sunday paper. And so maybe by me moving my hand and talking about writing notes like in the old school way, I would get it if that was misleading. So just to clarify again, what I recommend is that you look at the Sunday topic first, watch the videos, take notes on the videos, and write information in your notes that would go with, that would directly could be put into your Sunday paper. Time periods that are covered, names of some people. And then also you could then use that for works cited. Remember, I gave an example of how, a Sunday paper should look, and how the works cited you could just put Pollock. I think it would actually be better if you put Pollock, let's say video 1 or video 2. And that's what you put right after you have your paraphrased notes from the content of what I discussed, or if necessary, a direct quote. Okay? So the works cited should not just be at the end of your paper. The dates cannot just be on the top randomly. Within the paper itself, I want to see dates for time periods in the paper, and then I want to see something indicating a footnote or something to tell me where your information is coming from, and I can see it right in the paper. Now, endnotes are okay if it's like, let's say, a number 1, and then the 1 goes down to the bottom, and then it says the work cited that way. But if you just write me a paper and then put works cited at the bottom, that doesn't tell me at what point in the paper where that information was incorporated into the paper. Do you understand? So that's what I want to make clear. And so let's see. Okay. And the last thing I just want to say is that we are talking about ancient Egypt, and sometimes students are a little baffled by the question. I talk about pre-Christian Egypt and Christian Egypt. And I do this on purpose because I really like to put Egyptian history into a very different mental concept from what you are used to just thinking about it as just the pharaohs and the pyramids. And nowadays, and we'll learn more about this later on, Egypt is a major part of the Arabic-speaking world and the Islamic world. But Egypt at one time was one of the main centers of influence on Christianity. Now, we will cover Christianity in full detail at another module, and it's on its own, okay? But keep in mind, in some of my lectures on Egypt, it's not until the end of a lecture that I cover the parts about Egypt. And what I've noticed in the past is where students start struggling with this, doing the assignments, it's because they're not really watching the entire video lectures that I put out, okay? Now, I also posted one for the first time in this class of a scholar from, he's a scholar on graves and monasteries for Egypt. It is not an exciting interview. It's actually very poorly done. I'm having you watch at least 7 minutes of it, though, because I wanted to make some points stand out to you, and I wanted this history to really click in your brain. And I just thought I would just show you this book. It's not an easy read, but just something of interest to kind of draw attention to this history. Christianizing Egypt by David Frankfurter. Okay, this is a religious studies scholar. I bought this book when I was in Leiden, Netherlands, 2 years ago. And this is a Princeton Press book, very, very scholarly, and really addresses the complex history of the role of Christianity within Egypt once Egypt actually becomes officially Christian, okay? And how ancient pagan Egyptian religion still played some serious influences as well. So I just think it's a very fascinating topic. And, especially when we start thinking about the fact that Christianity, which we associate so much with being a part of the Western world, has so much roots in Africa. Think about that. Has roots in Africa. And then you will learn more about that. By the time you're done with this entire class, I will draw several sources as we cover this section. Christianity, Greece, the influence of Greece on Egypt. We'll go into more details. And Rome, and all sorts of things. What you always learn in these classes is that nothing comes out of a vacuum alone. So many things are connected, and in ways that you wouldn't really realize or think about. When you're saying a prayer, when you hear somebody say Amen, that term has been used probably in some context to a prayer, or even like that in a conversation, all the way back to ancient Iraq. And I know this because I've looked over texts that talk about that. I mean, think about that. Is that some amazing stuff or what? Okay. So it's just wild, some of the ideas and the historical things that are still traveling with us and coming from places that we would never expect, right? And that's the value of learning about history. Okay, so look, I'm gonna leave it there. I hope you're having a good week in this crazy world we live in, and we will be in touch. Hit me up if you need anything.